My name is Maxwell, and here at Sword, I am the head of IT. Personally, I'm a cybersecurity analyst and a web developer. So moving on, before we proceed, just a few things I want yours to note for today, because it's going to be important moving forward. Um, First off, I believe okay, we all have personal laptops, and even if we do not have it, still fine. You can still practice your code. Now, two things. If you have a personal laptop, download Visual Studio Code. I'm going to share my screen briefly. Okay, a minute. Hello, Patrick Hillary. You're welcome. Kindly unmute your mic and introduce yourself.
Good everyone.
Good day.
I'm Patrick Hillary from Abakaliki, Ebonyi State.
Okay, Abakaliki, Ebony State. You're welcome. You're welcome. I'll just proceed. I'm going to drop a couple of things in the comments or chat box so everyone has access to it. Download Visual Studio Code. So let's get started. Like I said, my name is Maxwell, and I'm a cybersecurity analyst and a web developer. At SOD, I'm the head of IT, and I am privileged to be taking you on this course. Now, if you have a personal laptop, that's great. You can go ahead to download Visual Studio Code. I'll be dropping a link for Visual Studio Code on the chat box. But if you do not have a laptop, you can still practice using codesandbox.io. Now I'm going to share my screen so we can see how codesandbox.io works. Okay, give me a minute. Yeah, so we just type in codesandbox.io. Once you do this, it brings you to this web page, and you can come to create sandbox. Now, codesandbox.io helps developers and programmers to write and test their code so that they can be sure that it's running, and we'll be using it for most of our practice sessions, most of our live practice sessions on here for assignments, for quizzes. Yeah, we'll be using codesandbox.io. So when you visit codesandbox.io, on the top right side of the page, you click on Create Sandbox, and that would bring us to the next page. Now, when you're on this page, you click on Static. Static, that's HTML5, because that's what we'll be starting with, HTML5. So once you click on Static, it loads up the HTML5 preview. Just one moment. So once you click on Static, it loads up the HTML5 preview, and then we have this. So this is a HTML file. This is what a HTML file looks like, and this is the output. Okay, a minute. So I was saying we could either use code, well, we're using Code Sandbox for testing our knowledge. And then here's the link I'll be sharing a link for Visual Studio Code very soon. But then before we proceed, let's just watch a brief video, sort of like an introduction to how the web works. And then from there we will proceed. It's not a video that I did. It's one of the resource videos that we'll be using for the class. So let me get that. Okay, so take it back a bit.
How does the web work? Now, maybe you're now thinking, well, what's this question? Of course I know how the web works. Well, maybe you do, but maybe you're also leaving out some important parts. In this video and in the article which you find below the video, in the video description also, I will have a look at how the web works, which different pieces are involved, and how that influences what you, if you want to become a web developer, or if you're simply
Sorry, who is
interested into the
Daniel?
topic, should learn and should be aware of. Now, as
Who
always,
be
if you're
Daniel and
liking
why
this,
una
I'd
no
love
inform me
to
early?
welcome you as a subscriber. Please share
Why
the
una no
video
inform
and
me
the
early
usual
secondary
stuff.
student?
With that, let's lose no time and dive right in.
Saying another website. So
With that, let's
She did not
start
tell me
with
his name.
the
She just
basic, the
told me
most common scenario. You're
someone
visiting a
else
web page,
would
like
be
our web
assisting.
page, academind.com. So you fire up your browser, you enter
Wahala
https
o.
www.academind.com, or maybe just academind.com. The browser adds the
When she was
uppercards, and I'll
like,
come back to that in a second.
the participation of
Now
you,
you
I'm like, I
expect the website to
understand.
show
But
up
if
on the
this is the
screen, but what's
definition
actually
of poor, this
happening
is
behind the scenes?
poor.
Well, the
Poverty
website is
poor.
stored on some server. So the website you're seeing is either generated dynamically there, or the code for it was actually stored there already and is returned back. Because your browser in the end is just an interpreter, you could say,
That
that
in
gets
person
back
in class lecture
certain
for make
source
sense
code, to
pass
which I will
through.
come back in a second, and it can display that on the screen. And that source
Omo,
code can either be stored
this
on
is
the
not
server
working for
already,
me at
or
all
it's
because what is
generated by the
this?
server.
These
But one
people are not
important
happy at
question at
all.
this point of time already is, how does the server know that we do mean it, the
Okay,
server,
so let me
by
go
entering
pause.
academic.com? Is this the address of the server, just like your street and house number is your address? Actually not. The official address of each server is an
Okay, so let me just break down what he said so far. In essence, how the web works is there are different layers to websites. We first have the user, which is you, me, and every other person who uses the internet. And then we have the website. Okay, let's say your browser. We have the browser. Let me share the screen back so we can understand. Share tab. Yeah. So I'm just going to share this screen so we can all see it. So how the web works is we have the user, the browser, the website. We have a server. Now, when you type in, let's say, www.facebook.com, what happens is your browser goes down to the server, or your browser connects with the server to display your website. Your website is stored on the server. So, but before the server, you have what we call the DNS. That's a domain name server. That's what translates, or that's what your browser connects to before connecting to the web server, which then displays your website. So it's just a like three-step process. You type in facebook.com, your browser connects to the internet and searches for okay, what address is facebook.com. It picks a particular DNS that facebook.com is registered on, and that DNS now takes it to the web server, which then brings up the website facebook.com. So that's just like a behind the scenes view of how the web operates, of how all of that magic happens. So moving forward now, we're looking at web development as regards front end, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. We'll be starting with HTML. Let me go back to my code sandbox. So let me go back to my code sandbox. Just give me a moment. Sandbox, yes. Okay, so HTML for short stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Let me type that in here. HTML, Hypertext Markup Language. And it's more or less the primary web, let's say it's the skeleton of websites. And then CSS stands for cascading style sheets. That's like the flesh. I like to use this analogy. So we're looking at a full human being. HTML is the skeleton, the part that you don't really see. CSS is the flesh, what the covering. CSS is what makes the website look beautiful, the design. Then JavaScript, I like to think of as the brain. It brings on the added functionalities of websites. Okay, so these are like the three major things when it comes to web development. But we'll be starting with HTML. So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Now, for HTML, there is a basic structure that should be followed. HTML has a structure. The first is the doc type declaration. So this one up here, doc type HTML. I think I need to clear all of this. Type it out. So we have the doc type. This specifies to the web browser that okay, the type of this is a HTML file that I am rendering or that you're supposed to render, and then we now have the HTML tag itself. This is like where all the magic begins. So inside this tag, we call these tags the what's it called? The brackets. Let me just call it brackets. Yeah, we call the brackets tag. So this is an opening tag. This is a closing tag. Greater than, less than, greater than, less than. Yeah, they are called opening tags. So, and one of the things you should notice for opening tags, they are without the backslash. Opening tags are without the backslash. Closing tags have the backslash before the HTML. So this now, anything that goes inside here constitutes of a website. So we have the HTML tag. There are about 5 to 6 major tags to take note of in web development. We have HTML, we have the body, is the open tag, and then to close the body tag, we have the greater than, so we have the less than, and then a backslash, and then a body again. So this closes the body tag. Everything inside here is what you see on your web page, from your top menu to the contents on the screen to the footer. Everything that goes inside here shows up on your, that's what you see as the website. Now for the other parts that we do not really see, we have the head. Open. We have the head, open it, and then we close it. Now for the head tag is more or less contains information on the website, such as the title. Okay, if you're on a browser, if you're on facebook.com, the part you see that's written Facebook at the top side of the tab, yeah, that's where the head is. Or if you can see my tab that I'm sharing, the part that shows loading dash code sandbox, yeah, that's where the header tag comes in. So we have this one. Then inside the head tag, we also have the title, open, close title. The title tag is what we see here. So if it's facebook.com, that's written inside this title. So let's say we have facebook.com. So we have this guy. What was I again? Yeah, the title tag. Now this part is what shows here. So let's say we run this now. Okay, now also for the code sandbox.io, after you're done inputting your code, you press the play button here. Oh, okay, sorry, not that guy. I'm supposed to run this guy. Let me save it first. Sorry. So I've saved it, and yes, it's a blank page now. So remember I said anything that goes inside the body goes in here. So I'm going to experiment that currently. So let's say I am a boy. Boy, and I save, and it shows up in here. Now let's try it inside the title tag with the Facebook. I am a boy. Now it doesn't work because okay, okay. Welcome, Precious. Briefly introduce yourself. The floor is open. Just your name and where you're joining us from, that'll be fine. Hello. Okay, so I'm just going to jump right back in. So the reason why this is not going to show is because this is part of what we call the this part, the head part is where all the information of the website is contained. Now that information is not for you, it's more or less for the browser and for the web server to consume. That's why you don't really see anything that goes in the head tag. But any other thing that goes into the body tag, that is definitely going to show here. So we have the HTML, the head, the title, the body. Now, after or inside the body, hold on. So inside the body tag, we also have okay, we have the head, the header. We have the header tag. I'll close it with this. I'm just giving us a brief rundown of what a website, of like the skeleton of what a website actually consists of. Okay, so we have the header, and then we have other tags such as sorry, main. Now inside the main, you can put in. I'm just going to show or explain some stuff further after this. So we have the main, we have the div, we have section. So now, then for the head, you can just leave the title there. For the head, you also have the link. So we have all of this for the website. These are like the basic building blocks for a website. For the body parts, I was saying these are some of the tags that make up the body. which is the part that you see on the website. So the basic structure of a website, HTML. Sorry, let me start from the top. For those that just joined us, we have doc type HTML. Now, doc type HTML is simply telling the browser, okay, this is a HTML file you're going to render. And as I earlier explained, HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It's one of the three major building blocks of websites. We have HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I use the analogy, let's say the human body now, for instance. HTML is the skeleton, it's what makes it stand, it's the building block. Then you have CSS, cascading style sheets. We'll look into that as we proceed. CSS is what makes the website looks beautiful. It's where the designs, the colors, the placement, that's where it comes in. And then we have JavaScript. Now, JavaScript is more or less the brain of the website because it brings in functionalities. So yeah, these are like the three major building blocks of websites. And the skeleton structure or the main structure for every website is what I've just written here. We have the HTML, we have the head, the body. Now, anything that goes in the head is for the browser and the web server. It tells the web server, okay, this website, this is the name. The name goes under title. Now we have other tags that are to be under or inside this head tag, but we're not going to go into that just yet. Anything that goes into the head tag, the browser or the server automatically understands, okay, this is information for the website, the name, the author, um, what are some of the keywords that could be found on the site, description about the site. That's what is found in the head tag. Then the body tag, this is where we have every other thing that comes up on the website. So let's say the top menu, the contents you see, the footer, the clickable links, it's all contained inside the body. So let's say you visit something like, let's say you visit Facebook or Google, and then you're seeing the top menu, those things listed at the top side. Like this now, for instance, this is considered a top menu. All of this can be found in the header inside a tag called nav. This nav is more or less navigation. So that's where you find all of this embed, fork, create, sign in. Yes, it's all inside the header tag. Now, header is different from head. Header is for top menu. Head is for information about the website. Then you have main, you have div, you have section. These three can be used interchangeably, but standard practice or standard coding practice would say you use the main tag after your header. Then within the main tag, you can now have either a div or a section. So as opposed to divs and sections standing alone, they should be enclosed within the main tag. I'm just giving us a brief overview before I continue. Okay, so this is how standard structure is for websites. Now, I didn't explain this link tag. Link tag is for, let's say, your fav icon or let's say, your icon that shows up on your tab beside the beside the website name. Facebook.com, the little icon you see up there that has the Facebook logo. Yeah, that's called a fav icon. So you can add that inside your link, or let's say your style sheets. There are different ways to use a CSS style sheet, but I'm not going to go into that. But the most recommended way would be you have your link and then you have this. Sorry. the, the, so the polygons, you now have your style sheets there, and then you have href. Href is more or less a direction, a link, and then inside the href you have a link to your external CSS style sheet. I'm going to go more into it. I'm going to explain this at a later time. I'm going to explain this at a later time. So let's just say style.css. That's what goes inside there. So you have your link, you have this, you have your link, you have the meta. Yes, you have the meta tag also. I'm just outlining some of the commonly used tags for HTML because we are basically dealing with the file structure for today. The meta is more or less information like okay, keywords. Let's say you're searching for a website and you go on Google and you type in organic hair products. Every search that comes up, every site that comes up has organic hair products written inside their meta tag somewhere. That's how it works. And basically, this class, I'm just going to give you a breakdown of how website works and how you can build a fully functional one from scratch. Okay, so that's like all there is for HTML. I mean, not all there is, but for now, that's like all I'm going to explain. I'll be dropping some extra links. So if you want to download VS Code, you can use VS Code on your system to practice. And also the links, I'll be dropping another link to the video on how the web works, the earlier video that we watched. I'll be dropping that so you can easily pick it up from there and watch for an in-depth, or if you want to watch it yourself to understand better, yeah, you can do that and then ask your questions. But then, does anyone have any question before we proceed? Before we bring today's class to an end, I'll be dropping a link for the VS Code. Everybody, please do have to check out the chat box. I'm dropping a link to Visual Studio. So yeah, I'm dropping a link now for us to so you can download VS Code if you want. Or if you prefer, you can still use code sandbox.io. And yeah, you can drop your questions on the Slack channel, not here, on the Slack channel. So if you have questions, I will be glad to answer. Okay, and also on the WhatsApp channel. So you can drop your questions on the Slack on the WhatsApp channel, and I'll be glad to answer that or answer them if you have any. I guess since there are no questions for now, be sure to go through what I just mentioned. I mean, if you have any questions at all, you can drop them on Slack and WhatsApp, and I would answer. And at this juncture, I think we can bring this class to an end. Do have a nice day, everyone. Bye bye.